Hi everyone, this is Rayon Paper. Welcome to a video of my very colorful currently inked for the month of June. I am so happy with this month's color palette. The inks don't completely match the color palette that I picked with these pens, but aren't these just the most beautiful pens? So let's see what I put in here. I'll just put these over here for now. And I'll put this one kind of in the middle. I have my box of swatch cards with me, but I don't think I've swatched all of these inks on these little A7 cards. So this is just a random box from IKEA. It comes with a lid, but the lid doesn't fit on anymore if I have these cards with like the brand names. If I pull these out, then you can still fit the lid on. So yeah, basically what I do, I just buy like a stack of A4 watercolor paper and I cut them into A7 sized cards like these. And then I just use them like in portrait mode for the brand names and in landscape mode for swatch cards. And this is watercolor paper, so the ink will sometimes look very different from Tomoe River paper. And I also swatch on Tomoe River paper, but these are just, because they're thick and sturdy, they're just really easy to, quickly grab, and they're not as flimsy and fragile, let's say, as my Tomoe River swatches. So a little bit of a tangent before we get started, but let's dive into the first pen, which is my Leonardo Momento Magico in Mille Fiori. I got this one off Katawiki a few months ago. A really good deal on this one. I got it actually together at the same time with the Momento Zero Grande 2.0 in Girasole. Similar designs, but the Girasole is a piston filler. This one is... Oh, they're both piston fillers, by the way. Yeah. But this one is a little bit smaller, the Momento Magico, and it has a different cap band design. And I actually love the cap band design on the Momento Magico. It's such a tasteful geometric design, I think. My pen is number 3280. And I inked this up with Diamine Cardinal. I do have a card for that, I'm sure. Diamine Cardinal. This was an Inkvent ink from a couple years ago. I don't remember from which Inkvent, but I only had a sample of this and I finished the sample now, and I don't think I need a full bottle. It's not my favorite red, but it does fit the pen and it's a really lovely ink to write with. Diamine Cardinal has a slight orange undertone, which isn't as visible on this swatch, but it's definitely visible, I think, when the ink is wet in writing. And I think that Diamine Red Robin, which is another red Inkvent ink that I probably also have on here. Yeah, this one. I just like that one better. It is more of a true red. It has a little bit of black sheen, which I really like, or like that black brownish sheen. And I just prefer that one. Another ink that is a little similar that I really like is this one, Diamine Wild Strawberry. A little brighter and a little bit more pink than Cardinal. Super similar, but just one that I like slightly better. Next pen and ink combination is my Benu Pixie in Aurora Gold. And I have this inked with Stilo & Stile Roman Bronze Oxidation. And I don't think I've made a card for that yet. Nope, I haven't. It's a lovely teal color, or turquoise. I think I'd describe it as turquoise, because I wanted something to match with the cap. So this one has more of this, let's say orangey, bronzy color on the body. And then the end of the cap is this really interesting, I'd say it's almost like a chameleon resin that changes color depending on the light, which really matches the Aurora part of the title of the name of the pen, because I would describe the base color of the resin as turquoise, but when the light hits it under the right angle, it becomes kind of purple, pinkish. Super interesting. And something that I hadn't really seen from the pictures online. You really have to see it in person to be able to appreciate that. I don't have a converter in this. I just have the cartridge that it came with. And I've written that dry. It came with Oxford Blue, I think Diamond Oxford Blue. And I've just written that dry, not really as part of a Currently Ink, just like on the side. And now I've cleaned it and I've filled it with a blunt syringe. Gorgeous pen, gorgeous ink, and the combination writes very lovely. What I like about this pen and ink combination is that the flow is generous, but the lines are still crisp, which is just a really, really nice writing experience. I think Stilo & Stile only have like 3 inks or so of their own lines. They're not super special. It's beautiful ink, but I think it's one of those color families where you just have a lot of choice, because every ink brand has, or almost every ink brand has a color that is a little bit like this. And some will be a little bit more blue, others will be a little bit more green, but you'll be able to find something that you like quite easily, I think. Then we have the Esterbrook Esty in Honeycomb that I've inked with Tasha Tsuchi that I got at the Dutch Pen Show. I also haven't made a swatch card for that one yet. I'm horribly behind on my swatch cards. But yeah, this combination, this is so nice. And like I mentioned in my Dutch Pen Show video, I think this ink has just the most beautiful shading, but you don't see as much of that in an extra fine nib, which is to be expected. I'm not too sad about it, but I just thought you should know. It's not really an ink color that I thought I would put in this Esterbrook Esty. Previously, I've inked this with, for example, Diamond Honeyburst, which is a fair bit more orange and yellow leaning. But I actually think like these yellowish browns or brownish yellows, golden brown colors fit the resin really well. It's a lovely combination. And then we have the Benu Euphoria in Milk and Honey. This is a Benu exclusive that you can only get on their website. And I did an unboxing video of this one because it was kindly gifted to me by Benu. And back then I inked it up with a yellow ink. I think it was Diamine Bored Banana. And that combination wrote well, but I think yellow in terms of journaling is sometimes a bit limiting because especially when I journal at night with artificial light, it gets a little hard to read. So I thought, let's just pick a color that really contrasts with this. So I picked a dark brown, and I think actually that the ink that I picked isn't the best match with the pen color-wise. It may be a little too cool. I think I expected it to be a little bit warmer, but you'll see that. Let's just see if I have a swatch card. Nope. Another ink that I do not have a swatch card for. So yeah, unfortunately. But the ink that I put in here is Sailor Doyo. And I promise you this ink is brown, but it's really, really dark and very unsaturated. So it could also pass as something of an off black or like a very dark gray. And it's nice. I think ink colors like that kind of go with every pen body design and color. But it's not really what I was expecting color-wise. It's a nice ink. It has good flow. It writes well. So yeah. Then the next pen and ink combination is this Leonardo Momento Zero Grande 2.0 in Girasole or Sunflower. And I've inked this one with Kaweco Sunrise Orange, and I do have a card for that. There we go. Sunrise Orange. It's a nice orange. What can I say? Nothing really too special about this ink. Flows well. It looks nice. I think it's quite similar to Gerber Orange Indien. I don't really have a preference. I've come to realize that with orange inks, I often don't really have a strong opinion about which sort of shades I do or don't enjoy. They're all just kind of nice, but not amazing, I guess. But it's really fun to have an orange ink in this because it pairs quite nicely with the lighter flecks in the resin. Lovely, lovely nib, lovely flow. So it's a really nice, nice pen and ink combination to write with. And then we have my Dutch pen show acquisition, the Narwhal Horizon in Twilight. And I've inked this with Narwhal Dark Forest. Not a really summery ink, but I just wanted to try it with a Narwhal ink first, and that's the only one that I have. Just to see kind of the intended flow of the nib, especially because this is a fine nib. All of my pens, most of my pens are extra fines. And I think that I have to clean this pen really well after I'm done writing with it, because the ink flow is just a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes it's suddenly really wet, and then I'll get a bit of a hard start. So I feel like something may not be 100% right. But I've had that before in pens, and usually a really good clean will fix it. So I'm hopeful. I'm not too worried yet. I usually don't really clean my pens before inking them up the first time, even though I've read online that sometimes it may be just wise to do that, because there may be some stuff from manufacturing left in there, some sort of grease or anything. Really depends on the brand. But yeah, I've had that before, that the first inking of a pen just didn't write that well, and when I've cleaned it and inked it up again, it was suddenly completely fine. Next pen and ink combination is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time, and that is my Leonardo Zero in Aloha. And I've inked this one up with Diamine Florida Blue. And let's just see. Here we go. This is the ink card, swatch card. It goes quite well with the darker parts of this blue resin. And to me, this combination screams summer. I am not a huge blue ink fan. I'm very particular about the shades of blue that I like. Unlike what I just said, like about the orange ink, where I don't really mind the shade. With blue, I really do. I don't like it when a blue is too purple leaning, too like royal blue or majestic blue. That just reminds me of the blue cartridges that we had to write with when I was a child. And it's just like, in my opinion, the most boring ink color. So what I really like is that this is just a really vibrant, fun blue that screams summer. This pen screams summer. So this combination to me is like the most summer in a pen that I can get. You may notice that this is not a Leonardo nib. Beauty vlogger moment. Can you focus? No, we're not focusing. Oh well. This is not a Leonardo nib, but it is a Jowo number 6 nib, an extra fine. I got this one from fpnibs.com, I think, in Spain. When I bought this, I bought it on sale, and it had a broad nib. And I mean, I was ready to try a fine, but broad is just way too broad. I did have a spare fine nib from Leonardo, but I noticed that with the blue inks, the flow was just too generous with the fine nib. I just couldn't write small enough. So I got this spare nib from FP Nibs, and it is fantastic. It writes so well, and I don't really care whether it's a Leonardo nib or not. As long as it's a Jowo number 6 that fits, it's fine by me. Fun fact, this ink always reminds me of my, what's it called? My job interview for my current job, which I had in June last year. Because I wrote my notes for myself, just like the questions that I wanted to ask, and just some notes that I had made for my job interview with this specific ink. And for some reason, connotations like that, like memories like that, are often very strongly ingrained in my brain. I still remember the song that was playing on the radio when my partner and I had our car accident like 7 or 8 years ago. Just very specific things like that are just often ingrained forever in my brain. And then we have the last pen and ink combination. This is my Just Turnings Mimus model in the Fafnir color. And I've inked this one with Kaweco Summer Purple, an ink that I'd been wanting to try since I saw it on Serial Nana on Shauna's channel. She's my purple inkfluencer. And it's this ink. I like it a lot. It's a really nice ink. I'm starting to think that the nib on this has an extra fine nib, but it's one of those black nibs. It's a black coated nib, and it writes super smoothly, but so wet. So I want to try, when I've finished this ink sample and I've cleaned the pen, I want to swap the nib for a steel colored, like a chrome colored one that I still have lying around, and just see if that changes the ink flow, if it's different. Because it writes nicely, but just a little too wet. And at first I just thought it was the ink, but I've had it every time I've inked it up so far. But a beautiful, beautiful shade of purple. And at first I thought, why summer purple? What does purple have to do with summer? But when I look at our garden right now, there are so many purple flowers that are currently in bloom. We have a lavender that is, we have two types of lavender in our garden, and one is like this very grayish lavender, and the other one is like a bright purple, and it's really like this ink. And so many other flowers that are purple. So yeah, for me, I think that purple is a summer color, because that's just when I see the most purple around. So that is my color palette for the month. And I am really, really happy with these pen and inks. Lovely combinations. Not a single pen and ink combination that so far I dislike writing with. Some are, I'm still learning about the pen or the ink, for example, with the narwhal. But it's not like unusable or anything. And some are already absolute winners. The Bennu Pixie with the Stilo Stile ink, fantastic. The Esterbrook Esti with the Tasha ink, amazing. The Leonardo with the Diamine Florida Blue, perfect. So yeah, there are really some really great combinations in here. So I'm really excited for this month. Yeah, so I think that's it. Hope you have a great day. Hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.